Welcome to another edition. I want to thank you guys for being here today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow our channel. Today, I want to talk about this. Three businesses that you can start in 2023. I mean, here's June. You got 6 months left in the year. I believe that these three businesses are opportunities. Now, keep in mind that whenever you are doing anything and deploying any of your resources at any given time, if you don't have the ineptitude, you can find yourself out of capital and actually spending money in a way that you'll never get a return. And it may be money that's especially during an inflationary period that may not be healthy for you to do. So what I want to talk about today is a couple of personality traits before I jump right into the show that should not start a business. And the reason this is important because a lot of times people start businesses and they got some of these traits. So let me just jump right into it. These are traits that you should not have if you want to start a business. I'm going to tell you about three businesses you can start in 2023. You can make anywhere between $50,000 to $100,000. But here's some traits, though. This is important now. The reason that 9 out of 10 businesses fail is because there's some character traits that we all have different character traits, but some of our traits are actually very deadly. So here's some character traits that I'm going to talk about that I don't care what kind of business you do. It's better for you to go get a job. I plead with you, go get a job. Do not start a company. Don't get involved in an early stage company. Don't get involved in a company that's been around and try to be a partner in it, even if you got the cash. And the reason for that is you got these personality traits. And these traits right here kills businesses. Doesn't matter if it's two people, one person, it kills it. Let me tell you what those are. Extreme risk aversion. Now, as you know, when you run a business, a lot of times what happens is that there are a lot of unpredictables. For an individual who doesn't like any type of unpredictability, you need to actually stay on your job. Don't get involved in any business because the benefit to actually starting your own business is that it's unpredictable, which means you're in a constant state of learning. No matter what you do, you're always learning. And that is a key component when you actually are operating a business. This is why most business owners are well-rounded because they got to deal with home life. Well, first of all, they had made previous decisions prior to them starting a business. So the thing about business in general, if you have these character traits, I'm just going to talk about 5 of them right now. Don't start a business. Go get more training. You need more training because you're going to fail in business. The 3 businesses I'm going to talk about today are great businesses. We can make 50 to 100,000. But the problem is if you got these character traits, you have to actually go through the whole shift and change. Because let's say if you're risk averse, then don't start a business because business is not the same thing. Like I go to work 9 to 5. I go to work at 9. I got to get off of work at 5. That's not how it is if you're going to be an entrepreneur. If you're going to be a partnership. It's not going to be like that if you were a co-founder with 5 of you guys. There's no such thing as a 9 to 5. It's not that you can't work 9 to 5, but do not confuse an established company with a startup company or a group of individuals who come from drawing into. See, that's an established. Totally different. Now, why? Because risk adverse. If you can't not handle tolerating any type of unpredictability, it'll be very difficult for you to be successful in business because you're going to have more time that you're actually not working. I mean, just think about it, not working. On an established job right now, you can go anywhere. If a person works, let's say 7 to 4:30, they work 9 to 5. They may work second shift. They work a 10 to 7 shift at night, 10 p.m. to 7 in the morning. Here's the one thing. When they go into that job is established. So if they do not, if you probably know, you probably went to your job and found out that when you got there, you didn't want to work. So you got a couple of hours where you got through the time. That's possible. You can't do that with a startup because see, the money's already in a business bank account at that established company. It's not at yours. At the end of the day, you're going to be drawing into any money you have set aside or any money that your partners, or any money you got from the bank. Once that takes place, you're going to be out of money fast. Here's the other one. Lack of persistence. Now, when you're going to start these 3 businesses in 2023, you got to be persistent. That means you do have to do something every day, even if you don't want to. And I'm going to tell you, as an entrepreneur, there's a lot of I don't want to days because some particular reason the word work means I have to do something beyond what somebody else is doing that I see them not doing. And that's one of the issues, that emotional reaction that you happen. Here's another thing. If you're inflexible, don't decide to be an entrepreneur. You got to be flexible. And these are traits that I will tell you, if you have these lack of issues, don't start a business, because the 3 businesses I'm going to talk about, you don't start. If you're a poor decision maker, for a lot of individuals, they're poor decision makers. They're looking for something that will drive perception. That's it. Whatever they can do to drive perception, they're going to do it. If that means that they get an ego boost, if they get like I like to call it a power boost, they're going to do that. I'm going to tell you now, you're not going to be successful if you're looking for power boosters. You're going to be successful because you actually drive the speed limit. You're consistent. You got to be consistent. I mean, if you lack self-motivation, that's a tough one. Because outside of if you're a poor decision maker and you lack self-motivation, what do I mean by that? If you dread going to work on your regular job and you start a company, that's a behavior that you've crafted into your makeup. That's part of, it's not, you have character and then you have behavior flaws within your character. So I always tell people, I'm not going at your character, but I'm going to go at the behavior flaws that people may misunderstand as to be character flaws, but they're really behavior flaws and not wanting to be there. And I can tell you, early on in my career, I was not as astute in certain areas of my behaviors. Yes, I had upstanding choices and decisions that I would make. I mean, I say upstanding, which means these were things that I was taught by my parents. These were things I was taught by other professionals, and these things actually allow me to operate within the standard rules of laws. Well, there's other parts of my behavior that, even though I did operate within that, but I didn't have other strengths. So you got to be very flexible. You got to constantly learning. You got to learn, live, and die. Now, here it is. Let's talk about three businesses. Okay, went over some character flaws. I touched on a few of them. One is here's another one too. I didn't talk about this earlier, but the inability to. This is a big one though, because this is the problem that you got with a lot of people. Is that I want to say it's a lack of understanding, because if you came from a job and you started a company, or if you was upper management and executive and you went to go do your own thing in the same area, but you lack the ability to delegate. Oh, listen, remember, working a job is not an investment. It's not an investment. If you work a job, you pretty much, most people I've had a conversation with, and let me be more specific, the people I interact with specifically that I talk to, that I've met, that I've came across in my lifetime. So these specifically engagements I personally have had. When it comes to young people after they graduate from high school or prior to high school, they actually get into things because of choices for consumer things they want: car, cell phone, some clothes, duffel bags, vacations, traveling. This is the reason that they actually got into debt in the first place, and that pretty much dictate their profession. People say, "Well, no, I wanted to be a nurse." Well, you wanted to be a nurse because there's some things that you saw. You looked at the nursing field, and it shows you can live in a certain neighborhood, that you can go. So a lot of it comes down to that. In my personal interaction with people will tell you otherwise. Like, "Oh no, I always wanted to be a nurse since I was a child." Yeah, but it's even more greater, because what if the nurse only paid 20,000 a year? Would you still be a nurse? And a lot of them have always told me, "No, Primo, I wouldn't be a nurse. If it paid what most I can make is what librarians make. Nah, I'm not doing it. You talking about YMCA money? Nah, I'm not doing it." Then I said, okay, then then it's about the reality of the nickels, dime, pounds, and pence, quarters and dollars. It's about that. It's not necessarily about doing that because of passion. Immediately you said that, yeah, I got a passion to assist people, but here it is. So with that being said, let's jump right into it. What are the three businesses that you can actually do this year if you haven't done it before? What are the three businesses? I can tell you this. If you're not looking at starting a business, if you're not looking at starting a company that will be an employer, but you're just saying, "I'm going to do a sidestep." Now, let me just give you this quickly. A sidestep means I was working for an employer and I'm going to start a part-time business on the side that's just for revenue for me, versus me going to get a second job. Traditional second job is going to work for another employer that you can draw into. Draw into means they already got the money. You don't have to worry about generating the money. You got to just go there and maintain it. And even if it's a commission job, here in Nebraska, we have Nebraska Furniture Mart. There's some other stores as well. You got a Hobby Lobby. Well, if you get paid by the hour or paid by the hour plus commission, you would say, "I'm going to earn money." But in reality is, if you're getting paid by the hour, when you're in training, what are you doing? How are you making money for the company when you're in training behind doors, not dealing with customers? Just think about that for a moment. So this helps you kind of have an understanding. Even time you're doing a job where you are in a position where you're in training, you're not earning money. So with that being said, we take the next approach. You want to do a job, freelance job. Right now, there's a lot of opportunities, because not just because of the COVID situation that took place, back in 2020 through 2021, but just in general. Because so many companies are coming out of COVID, and they really are not trying to pay, your health insurance. They're not trying to pay your any type of Social Security benefits for you. So as a freelancer, if you got good good gifts in reading, writing. If you got an opportunity where you may say, well, I'm going to do sales, I want to be an extended sale arm, then the reality is that's a freelance type of opportunity for you. And that freelance opportunity may be lucrative. So I highly suggest that, in this year, there's a lot of companies out there. Actually, when I started my career by doing freelance work. You say, what is that? I saw help wanted that. I wasn't old enough, but I figured out if I can go get customers for this guy, and he's able to get customers, and I'm talking about from like just being young, able to get customers, then where he, maybe he'll pay me, but I'll bring the customers first to show him that I can actually generate revenue for him. I mean, outside of that, I worked at a grocery store where I never got paid before. It was associated with my father, but that's a whole different conversation for a different day. But if you could do freelance work, let me just tell you, if you do freelance work, you got gifts and talents. Reading, you can write, you can write copy points. If you are very good at any type of office work, or you say, oh, I can do this for somebody who can't do it. There's a lot of people who can do the physical labor, but they cannot do the office management side. In 2023, that's needed. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I meet a lot of business owners, and when it comes to working on the business versus in it, they can work in it, but they can't work on it. So that is definitely an opportunity in 2023. To be honest with you, to go ahead and do an opportunity of doing some freelance work, so you can work on the business because they can work in it, but they're not good with paperwork. Here's another business you can start in 2023. It's something that's not new, but it's something that, again, you got two different perspectives that you got to think about. You have to say, if I'm going to start a business that has inputs, which means unfinished goods. I'll give you an example. Inputs will be like this. Okay, your business is making, pretty much apple pies that you will sell from your home, or you got to deal with a local place that's like a diner, and you make the pies for them, and they buy your pies. Well, you got to go buy apples. You get your apples, you get your brown sugar, and the rest of the ingredients that you need to make some apple pies that you're selling to this place, and then this place is turning around and upselling on your behalf, and they're paying you for this. Well, the apples are inputs. The finished good is once you put it in a box and you ship it, or you put it in however when it's finished and it's able to now be bought by the consumer, that's finished good. But apples, pie crust, that's all inputs. In 2023, because of the cost of everything, I would highly suggest that if you're going to go in business, you go into a business that's service, not inputs. Inputs mean you're going to have inventory. It's going to the cost of capital, the cost of that opportunity. When you look at business, it should be for you guys an investment, not a job. That's another mistake that people are making. And I mean, just overall, they made this mistake every time a business is started. Not until the business failed because a person started a company to get a job. They did not tweak their thought process to look at it as, this is for me to actually turn it into investment, which means I will be the person that works on, and what I used to do, I used to be the person that worked in the business, maintaining someone else's asset. I need to be able to work on my business where I can actually create an opportunity for people to actually maintain my asset for me. So they get fixed income, and I actually get to make more income above fixed. I need to pay them $12 to $13 an hour. Even if you have a business that's very good and be scalable, I want to pay them $19 to $25 an hour so I can make $200-$300. So I need to free myself up from working in the business versus being able to be a deal maker to work on it. But that's when you're looking at your business as an investment. You're not looking at your business as a job. I mean, for most of us that go into entrepreneurship, a lot of times we saw it as an opportunity. So we had a slight view of investment, but mostly it was like, okay, I think I could do this and I can make a living from it. I'm just tell you this regards. This is going to make you have a business that you're really, well, you hear the term all the time, self-employed. And I like to say, self-employed, that's what a lot of people do. So the first one is you can look at being a freelancer because you got gifts and talents. The second one is you have the opportunity to go out here and start a business that is actually service-based, where you go and you do physically start a company, but do not start a company that's inputs. Inputs itself right now means you're going to have inventory. It's going to force you to have an office space in an area where you actually don't have. And I'm going to say this. Remember, when you go into a job, you know where the bathroom's at. You know where the paper towel is. You know where everything is because it's already established. You're starting something where these things may not be there. And if you're starting from your kitchen table and you're doing a service business, let's just be honest. You don't want people coming to your house. You don't. You may and most people say, well, I'm going to start a company. And in 2023, I just want to say it right now, as long as we're still in the bear market, you want to have a company that provides services, But you don't want to go out here and have to have a company that's going to force you to actually have an office, because you got to have enough time. Again, that's that development time. You got to have enough time that you can be persistent enough that when you do generate income, you're not paying rent first. See, some of the problems I think for a lot of entrepreneurs when it comes to 2023, they want to start a business and they want to look established. Here's your key. When you're going to start a company, do not look at an established company and then compete with that. Because here's the thing. If you get a lease, let's say, I don't care how much money you have. Let's say you go out and you get a lease for your office, because again, that looks more professional. I just want you to understand the cost of perception makes people fail in business. The cost of perception. And your idea is that this looks like I'm in business. The only two things you need to have to be a business is an EIN and actually you have to have with your city or your state, an LLC, a C Corp. That's what you got to have. If you don't have that, you go and get your sole proprietorship license from your local county. You don't have no legal protection. Talk to a lawyer. I'm not going to go on that today. But just in general, you got to have a business license, whether you get it from your local county office, or you need to make sure that you have a legal entity, which is an LLC or a C Corp. And then tax-wise, that's up to you. Find an accountant that you can work with. But don't go out here and get a rent. Don't go do it. Because I'm going to tell you what you're going to do. You're going to start a business off the top where you're guaranteeing somebody else that they're going to get money before you do. And that's what a lot of people do. They start businesses, and the first thing they do is go get a lease space. For what? Remember the goal of an investment. Now, when you're starting a business, it's an investment. Make sure you think about that. In 2023, do not start a company, start an investment. The goal of it is wherever you came from, wherever you was working at, your goal is to say this. There's some officers here. Now, remember, if you start a company, you're an officer. You may be the CEO. A lot of people like to start nonprofits, so they call themselves a director. A director is nothing other than the CEO who gave up authority so that the community is their boss. But if you're a founder, you may be a board member. The key to it is this, though. Here's the fundamental key. You got to be in a situation where the advantages are in your favor, not theirs. If you go out and you haven't generated persistent, consistent income, and you go out and the first thing you do is get a lease space, you're willing to pay $500 a month, and you don't have a client that's paying you $500 a month. And I've always told people your lease should only be 8% of your total gross revenue annually. But that's not what's happening a lot of times. So the first year, I get it. You want to look. You only need two things, an EIN and a business. I even had a conversation, and this was a couple of years ago. I had a conversation. A person told me, if I don't have a website and I don't have a business card, then people don't say I'm in business. I said, you can have a website, you can have a business card, but if you don't have an EIN and a business license, you can't deposit any money in a bank account. You're like, well, I can deposit in my personal bank account. Well, let me just tell you that way. You're not a legitimate business. And if you ever get caught, you're going to have an issue with the IRS. You're going to have an issue with the local county, or you're going to have an issue with the state business formation office. You're going to have those issues. So the idea of going out and having to get a lease in 2023, let me just tell you this regards, don't do it. You already got your mortgage. You already got your current lease. If you're going to do that, this is an investment. Now, let me tell you the ultimate business in 2023 really is, if you're new and you've never been in business before, the business that you really want to get involved in is any business that is going to cost you to learn who you are. I know a lot of times people say, what do you mean by that? Here's the thing. Regardless of what you're doing right now in the business that you got into, the reason that you're there or that you apply for that job is because you have debt obligations or you have desires to go into debt. That's the reason you're there. But if you go into a business where your mind shuts off and it becomes just an automatic, in order to be a successful, serial, long-term, I'm finding out now that most of the people that I do interact with or I do talk to, they have like 4 or 5 businesses. They're a photographer. They have a restaurant. When they're not doing a restaurant, they say, well, I have a restaurant, but I have a catering business too, which is not part of the restaurant, which is interesting because if you have a restaurant, the restaurant can do catering, but they make these two separate. So they have 2 different business licenses, which makes no sense if you want to be honest with you, but that's all they know. So they got to continue to learn. In 2023, the ultimate business you can start is a company that provides jobs that for your, so that way at the end of the day, someone can maintain your assets. Keep in mind, you're saying, what are the best 3 businesses? One could be a freelancers. There's a lot of people right now doing, and here's the thing, people who actually treat their pets, as you probably know, if you got a pet and you're watching this right now, let me just tell you, you probably treat your pet like a family member. So there's pets right now that are they're going to get washed, they're going to get cleaned. They don't get washed at their house. Like most of us, here's the thing. We don't pay to go and get washed up outside of our house. If you have an apartment, you got a home, you literally go pay to do it. But most people don't want to put their dog in their own tub. They don't want to cut their hair. I mean, I would say women do go out and get their hair done at a local salon. There's other ones who have they go to their person's house that has a salon in their homes. So you do have that. But I'm referring to this simple fact here. Some women do go out and get pedicures and manicures, so I'm not going to argue with those women and men who do those things. I'm not arguing with you on that. That's your preference. But imagine there are a lot of people that saying that they don't want to walk their dog. In my neighborhood, I see these trucks now come. I didn't see them come 5-6 years ago, but they come now. People love their pets. They didn't train their pet to move their bowels on sand. They took part of their yard, sanded it out, made it about 6 foot, 4 feet, or 4 feet long and about 3 feet wide, a little area. So your dog can just go in the sand and train your dog to move the bowels in the sand. So it moves the bowels all over the yard. Well, a whole industry got started. And let me just tell you, I would have thought dog poop about 10 years ago made no sense. I don't have any dogs or cats, so that's not my thing. But the reality is that is a business right now that has a market cap of about $150 million to go run around and pick up poop. Now, I equate that opportunity, picking up pet poop, as no different than working and cleaning porta potties, because they pay more, but yet people will say, I would never clean porta potties, but they run around behind pets and cleaning that mess up. I equate it to be the same thing, but there's an industry for it. How come? Because people look at their pets as human beings. So there's these specialty areas where they're not scalable for 5 to 6. You can go out and have 100 employees in a short period of time, because you have to build that up, that you get enough people that will actually be, because then you got to have vehicles. See, that's an input business. It's a service, but it's also heavy in inventory as well, because at some point you're going to have vehicles and they got to ride company cars. But the reason that I point that out, because the businesses right now that you can make anywhere between $50,000 to $100,000 just for yourself is going to be in these 3 areas. A freelance job. You got the drop shipping. There's a lot of people doing drop shipping. I'm not saying that that's a flooded field, but you got to be persistent. At the same time, you have dispatch. You see a lot of people doing dispatch. I get a lot of calls at my facility where people are calling for private dispatch. They don't drive trucks themselves, but they do get contracts. They like a sales force for the truckers, so they can, especially if they're independent operators. So in 2023, the 3 businesses that you can start, one should be service, not inputs. Inputs are always going to be opportunities that it needs something. It has to be finished. One of the things we sell at a facility in Lincoln is black walnuts. Well, you got the black walnuts. Once I buy that, that has to be stored somewhere. So that means that, you can only put so many black walnuts in your home before you're going to have to put it somewhere else, especially if you're selling it at scale, or if you're selling it in volume. And with that being said, it can be, that's going to force you into a lease. So with any business you start in 2023, make sure, until we go back to a bull market, and this is my opinion, we're in a bear market right now, and no one's going to deny that. What they will deny is that we're in a recession or not. My personal opinion, we're in a recession. But as long as we're still in this season and the administrations is continuing, the Fed's hiking rates, you need to have a business that doesn't cost you, whatever it is in 2023 to the end of the year or going into 2024, that it will not cost you to go out and get a lease, that you can use your current laptop that you have or your tablet. People will tell you, well, don't I have to have a website first? I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna say this. If you're willing to spend $500 to $2,000 to $3,000 on the website, and you're not willing to get paid $300 to $500, $1,000, then you're paying someone when you ain't made no money. And I think that's one of the reasons that most people fail, is because they go after paying everyone else and ignore themselves getting paid, because the perception of business is more important than actually making money in business. Don't get caught up in the hype. I realize that we have a large market. There's social media out there. With all the social media, is what you will find are people out here telling you that if you're starting a business, you got to have business cards, you got to have a company pen. That's why I'm rocking a hat, clarity over chaos. How come I'm saying that? Because here's the thing. That's the perception of business. The perception of business make you go broke. Let me ask you a question. If you go out here and you get business cards, do you actually tell, look, here's my business card, pay me $3? Or here's my business card, costs $10 for my business card? The answer is no. What that business card is to say, look, I'm in business. However, a business card does not recognize business federally, state-wise, or anything else. That's for consumers to say, oh, they have a business card. You can actually have a family business card. You can put your last name on it, put your home address, and say, I'm from this family. I'm the second born child. That's not going to make you no money, though. Getting pins with your company name on it, it's not going to make you no money. You would say, well, it's my company pin. Somebody may call me. Again, I'm going to go back to this. The whole reason that you started a business in 2023, in the three businesses we talked about, freelance business, because companies right now are willing to freelance. A lot of companies are looking for independent sales rep. A lot of people are saying if you can write, one of the things I can tell you is if you find somebody and they say they're a small business, you find this is going to be one of those things you're going to see. Hey, out for once a month or every 2 weeks or twice a month, I'll come in and I'll go through your books for you, and I will actually categorize it and put it in the proper category for your taxes. I'm just trying to tell you, a lot of these businesses they shoebox full of receipts. They've never really mastered that. They've never really mastered P&L's, profit and loss statements. They get a bank statement every month, but they've never learned how that bank statement correlates, that their personal bank statement is a profit and loss. They don't know that. So for you guys out there who are looking to start a business in 2023, freelance business is one of them. Now, babysitting is another. That's been one for years that you have. You see this may sound funny, but as a male, I babysitted kids when I was young. My mom would, because I was a little older than my other siblings, I would babysit and I would play games. That helped me. There was a company at one time. I don't know if you guys remember, but I worked there for a while, and I was part of the party department called Funscape. Now that was part of Regal's brand. I worked there for a little while I was in college. I did kind of just when I was doing my college years and my freshman year, I kind of worked there. My freshman year in college, I kind of worked at Funscape, and it was like an indoor arcade golf club and everything. But I got part of the Funscape had a party department. And then you say, well, because I was part of the party department, a couple of times my parents had friends that would go out and they say, I'll pay you when I go out with your parents to watch my son or my daughter. Cool. Because I had that part of my ability in having younger siblings and always having nieces and nephews that were younger than me. So entertaining them, not bossing them around, a lot of the times that happened. I'll get paid. I mean, most people think that only girls get paid babysitting money. I remember I made like $400 over a weekend babysitting like 12 kids, running around with 12 kids, balloons, everything else. And that was my profit at the end of it. So, and I learned that. How did I learn that? Because it was an opportunity. A lot of times parents, so these are all these different freelance jobs. So look, and again, that's a job now, keep that in mind. That's a job. And if that's one of the things you can do, but if you're going to go into that job, make sure you also take the opportunity to scale that, turn it into a business. Anything you do, if you're going to work a regular job, you're going to draw in the income. They're going to pay you. You're going to say, well, they pay me an hour, or what is the salary? That's fine. But your next thing you're going to do for yourself, turn it into an investment. Do not look at it as a job. Let me tell you one thing about a job. You don't always want to do it. But if it's an investment, you're going to learn, grow, and die every day to yourself. You're going to learn more about yourself when it's an investment to you. Now, here is a saying, and I continue to be saying this I've been saying this over the last 2 weeks. Poor people study. Rich people train. Now, most people may not understand what that means. There are a lot of people looking and talking, I'm going to start a business, and they're studying. Rich people are training, which means they're doing it. And the first thing they do is this: is this even something I consistently make money at? How do you know? I'm going to go out here and start training. I'm going to start training. For example, the first business that I did, I remember that the business itself, to get the actual license. Now, just for full disclosure, if you ever pay for EIN, if you ever pay for that, for EIN, EIN is free. The IRS offers that. So if somebody says, oh, I help you start your business and, I file your EIN and the EIN is going to cost you $200 to file that, I want you to know you're being taken advantage of by a person who knows that you're ignorant that EINs are free. It costs $0 to get an EIN. It takes less than 30 minutes online to get that EIN, and you can have that, period. It takes longer to fill out the paperwork to actually start a company than it does to get an EIN. But there's a cost because the state charges a cost if you're doing an LLC or C Corp. And the county, if you're doing a sole proprietorship, charges a cost. But an EIN, there's zero cost. And the reason that I point that out is because most of the time people are afraid. So You can actually tell somebody, listen, right now I haven't, I realize you have some services that you need to have taken care of. I'm willing to do this for you. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't started my business yet, but here is my charge. That's how I started my business. I actually charged a person $100 over what it cost me to start the business. So my business was profitable from day one. So my first contract I ever got when I first started off in business, before I became an employer, and I was just basically creating a job for myself. My first business was telling the person what was the cost to actually start the company, literally starting it. The next time and then my client started to do this. When I wanted to get rent, and that rent was going to cost me $7,000, the first, before I went out and got a lease space, you know what I did? I actually charged the customer what it cost. I charged $7,000 for the work that they needed me to do for them, because that was the whole rent for the whole year. And every customer after that, I paid $7,000. So I charged them $7,000. So it was $7,000. The customer paid that. I had a space that was paid for, and I made $100 above that. Then I charged the next customer $7,000 once I had the office. So now I was all profitable, but my next year's paid. Then I charged another $7,000. I got 5 clients the first year. And it was 4 months going into the year. So I started my company in September. By the time December came, I had 5 clients, and the 5 clients paid $35,000. I was profitable $28,000. At the time, I was only making, while I was doing work study at school, I was only making like $6,000. So just doing this service, I used to look raw. One of the ways you can actually find in 2023, walk down, when you go on your normal walks or you go through your normal drive, look what people's hiring. I'm not talking about fast food, but just look at what it says on the doors of some of these businesses. Looking to hire, looking to hire, looking to hire. Some of these businesses are considered maintaining, which means if you're going to go into a restaurant, you're going to have to serve in that restaurant. So that's a maintaining business. But there are some things that people are looking for, and you say, well, I noticed what you're hiring for. And if somebody's hiring for a marketing director and they want you to be in the office all day long, and you saying that, I want some flexibility, go have a conversation that says, are you willing to hire someone that does outside marketing, but it also reduces your costs because you don't have to worry about paying Social Security. You don't have to worry about paying unemployment tax. And a lot of times that's how I got it. My 6th client was that way. And I'm going all the way back. So this is going all the way back to 1994. That's how I got my 6th client after I had the first 5, because I offered them that. And I told them I could save the money. Now, the reason that I did that, because I've already had an office space. And I knew that in order for me to do it, I had to be in a position. But remember, these are investments for you. So in 2023, I put some notes. So don't forget to check the body out. Don't forget to like, subscribe. This is normally on Saturday, I don't do a show. I normally do a show Monday, Wednesday, and I do that every Monday and Wednesday. And Wednesday is a different show that I talk about. But on Monday, I talk about business. And because I missed this past Monday, I said, let me jump on this Saturday, because I had a situation that took place that didn't allow me to do my Monday show that I started. It was just strictly about business. And I'm going to go into even more details about, building wealth. Don't look at starting a company as starting a company to get yourself a job. Look at it as building wealth, where you're going to be the CEO on the board of directors, and everybody else. I mean, right now, for a lot of, if your kids live in the Midwest, or you may live maybe on the East Coast, and your kids get out in May, like my kids get out in May. One of the interesting things is that when you have that type of situation, some already started. People who started school after Labor Day versus before Labor Day, they're in a situation where their kids are still in school to June, which later this month. Later this month, they're still in school. But here's your advantage you need to take advantage of for yourself, though. In this year, if you're going to start a business, you're starting an investment. This should be something that if you're no longer doing it, a lot of times you worked at a job and you got promoted, and when you left that job, they didn't cut you a bigger check. That's why it's an investment. So whatever you're starting, you should be able to say, when I'm no longer doing this, it's not like quitting the job and then you wait 2 weeks for that last paycheck. It's when you're no longer doing this, or you decide to retire, that either you can allow one of your employees to keep running the business and you sit on the board, and then your investment starts paying you, and you don't ever want to sell that business. You create your own Social Security by just moving to the officership, which you was anyway. You was a founder, now you're an officer, you sit on the board. Or second, you sell the business to someone for more money based on the revenue that you already have. Whether you're selling it for 10 times earnings, 5 times earnings, or 3 times the earnings. And then you go out and do something else. So Again, don't forget to like, subscribe. Hopefully you enjoy it. Look at the body. Don't forget to share this video with someone. I wanted to make it short. I'm not into really talking for like 40 minutes on YouTube. I have in the past, but I also know everybody got a short attention span. And it's also Saturday morning. I got stuff, or Saturday afternoon, I got stuff I got to do myself. But I just want to thank you, everybody, for just checking out on the show here. My name is Primo Galicia. I am an entrepreneur and I am an officer in CFS Studios. I'm an officer in other companies. And I always, at least my standpoint is, start an investment, not a job. If you came from a job, when you leave that job, it's not an investment. That's why you're looking for another job. Don't make your decisions. Watch out for perception. Perception costs you hours of time and dollars and cents. If you want to be a successful business owner, you actually will die to perception and you'll become the person who you just be who you are and let everybody make up who they are, because that's why they spend money the way they do. And if you do that, you'll be successful. Until next time, you guys have a powerful weekend. Don't forget to rule well. Don't forget to share this video, and I'll see you next time.